I spoke to Ariel Helwani. And in the course of speaking to Ariel, he asks me my opinion of Gina Carano versus Ronda Rousey. So we end up on this subject, and I didn't mind being on the subject at all, but I shared with Ariel that the one thing about the fight, the one thing that's not interesting, the one thing you can't get headlines with, the one thing that has surprised me in the promotion and build up to the fight is that no point of interest and no headline anywhere has to do with the fight. And I just shared with him, look, I don't know how many rounds they're fighting. And I pay attention to this. I do this for a living, and I don't know how many rounds they're fighting. And Ariel cut me off, and he goes, 5. Real quick. Almost annoyed that I didn't know. Okay, fair enough. They're fighting 5. And I said, another thing, I don't know what weight class they're doing it at. And for a main event, that's very unusual. Just go back through history, whether it was Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali, or whether it was Floyd Mayweather or it was Oscar De La Hoya. You always knew the weight class. Carry it over to the sport that we do. Any main event that's ever done, numbered event, pay-per-view, make up a title, fight night, Apex, any way that you want to do it, not only would you know the weight class, that would be right on the poster. That would just be one of the features. Bruce Buffer is going to say that right out of the gate. So I was just sharing with Ariel that I don't know how many rounds they're fighting, and I don't know the weight class. 2 standard things. And Ariel tells me 145 pounds. I said, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Because that's actually very compelling. A large part of this story is Gina Carano getting back into shape. That makes me a little uncomfortable to talk about. Like, that's one thing with a girl made. You don't ever talk about her age or talk about her weight. And somehow Gina's weight and being in and or out of shape became an acceptable part of this story. Ronda talked about it, and then Gina spoke about it. So when Ariel reveals to me that it's 145, I actually do find that somewhat interesting. I find it interesting because 145 is the lowest that Gina has ever fought at. So, in theory, this return fight for Gina, who again, as part of the story, has gotten so out of shape, she's going to return to the lowest weight that she ever fought at. That's compelling to me, to a degree. Like, that would be a reason to watch the weigh-in. Hey, did she make it? Right, hey, check that box. 1 goal down, but what happens if she doesn't make it? There's no reason that they're fighting 5 rounds. There's no title or even a made-up title. There's no reason to take 2 people who are completely out of shape by their own admittance and stick them in there for 70% longer than your entire undercard has to go. Now, I'm a hater on 5-round fights. This has nothing to do with MVP or Netflix. You guys know that I just don't get it. I've never understood how our industry hasn't pushed back against 5-round fights. We have 50-plus commissions that hang their hat on safety. Now, they're not there for safety. They're there for commerce, but they hang their hat on safety. One of those executive directors should have stepped forward in all of these years and said, hey, you want to make this thing safer? Do it less time. Now, they might not have won the argument and got that past the ABC. They just should have said the words. They should have just made the argument. If you want to make the sport safer, do it for less time. Instead, we went the other way. They added rounds to it. Imagine the NFL, and hey, this is a playoff game. You're going 5 quarters. Or imagine the gold medal 100-yard dash becomes 103 yards. It's weird. And I just share with you, I've never understood why we do it or how we got away with doing it. But why? And what is the answer here? Why would Ronda and Gina be scheduled for 25 minutes? I'm open to any answer you want to give. It's better for ticket sales. Is it? Please teach me something. Is it better for interviews? Is it better for front page stories? Does anyone believe that the fight is going to be more fun to watch? And by the way, I'm open to any of those answers. I'm genuinely asking a question. Why is it scheduled for 5 rounds? Why are we taking 2 girls, according to themselves, that went and became fatties? They're getting back into shape, and we're going to push them from a cardio standpoint to a degree that they had never in their primes been pushed to. Neither one of those girls is in the 5-round club. Are you aware of that? 5-round club's very rare. There are people in the Hall of Fame. There are world champions. There are sitting world champions right now that have not gone 5 rounds. And I'm not saying didn't win 5. They haven't gone 5. The 5-round club is a very exclusive club. Truly. So now we're going to take 2 Bettys, get them down to 145 in theory. And it's a very big deal because it's the lowest that Gina's ever competed at, but it's a weight class that's bigger. Ronda refused to fight at it. The Ronda Cyborg fight did not happen, according to Ronda, because it was too big. Ronda said, I'll fight her, bring her to 135. I'm not coming to 145. Now, you had commission issues, you had ped failures. Don't think I don't remember the story. I remember it as though it happened yesterday. But I'm sharing with you that Ronda turned the fight down, maintained an aura of invincibility while turning down a fight. Very, very hard to do. But one of the reasons she was able to do it is she was, I will do it, but she's got to come to me. I'm not going to her. Now, why do I make a big deal about that? Well, because if the story that Gina is telling is accurate, it's not a foregone conclusion that she's going to make weight. I was a little surprised when Ariel told me it would be 145. I even questioned him. I didn't go into great detail, but I said, hey, are you sure about that? In my mind, I'm thinking, because that's the lowest that Gina's ever been. And the story here is that she's the most out of shape she's ever been. And what you weigh is directly related to your effort. It's calories in versus calories out. What you weigh is directly related. So now they're going 5 rounds. And I think that you could build an angle from this. We don't have any other angle. There's no reason that these 2 girls are fighting. So I'm searching for an angle, but I might have just found it. What happens if Gina doesn't make the agreed upon weight class, of which by her own admittance, she can't make? What happens? Do they fight anyway? And what happens if they do move it to, we'll call it a catch weight, or I just bump it up a weight class, 155? What happens if they do fight there? Does the fight remain 5 rounds? Which is an egregious and arbitrary number to begin with. Now, I might have lost your attention. I don't know if you find that compelling. But as you're trying to find a reason for these girls to fight, I think that it is of interest. I don't find weigh-ins to be interesting. I don't think that you find weigh-ins to be interesting, but it could be in this fight for the first time ever. Right? I mean, really, for the first time, if the story of the fight is to get down to weight, but then you've got an opposing force in Ronda who's been very disciplined that I don't fight anybody that's too big, and this is the highest she's gone. So is she willing to go a couple more? Is she willing to go a couple of more? I mean, if you're a betting man and you're armed with the information that I just gave you, if that information is accurate, and I'm relying on Ariel, but if that's accurate, you would be very wise to consider taking action on Gina to not make weight. I can just use myself. I could not, if I was to return to action after being out, I could not return to the lowest weight that I've ever fought at, which, by the way, was 185 pounds. I could not get down there. I would not succeed. I don't know of any fighter that's been out for 10 years that could succeed at that. Not one. Not in boxing, not in wrestling, not in MMA, not a jiu-jitsu guy. I cannot name for you an athlete that's been out for 10 years that could return out of shape and on weight. It's interesting. It's interesting to a degree. We have 2 girls that are fighting for no reason at all, and now they're going to fight for 25 minutes for no reason at all. But are they? What happens if Carano misses weight?